like to call to order the West Covina Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, March 27th at 7:02 p.m. We've talked to most of you people out there about filling out cards already, so if you wish to speak on an agenda item, you need to put the agenda item on there, and if you're for or against. If you just want to talk on oral communications, I think I have one card on that, and we'll hear that subject first before the agenda meeting. And I please ask you to hold your comments to 5 minutes. Okay? Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and stand for a moment of silence and prayer and meditation.
Please place your hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Get me in a play.
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Hing?
Here.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Present.
Commissioner Redholz?
Here.
Commissioner Castellanos?
Here.
Chairman Holtz?
Here. Approval of the minutes from the regular meeting, February 27th. Any additions or corrections? No?
None.
No. Okay, can we have roll call, please, then? I'm sorry. Approval of minutes, if no objections, they stand approved. Okay, takes us to oral communications. This is when anyone can speak on anything that's other than on the agenda. We ask that you keep it to 5 minutes at this point in time. And I have one card here from Jamie Lee. Would you like to come forward, please?
And fellow residents, my name is Jamie Lee. I'm a resident of West Covina. I'm here again today to give you some updates on the issue that I had beforehand. I'm about to burst, so this is probably the last time you'll see me until a little bit later. But to refresh your memory, I'm trying to build a guest house for my elderly parents, but I'm faced with 4 barriers within the city's current laws regarding guest homes, also known as ADU laws. And to remind you, it is that the city requires a minimum lot size of 12,000 square feet. It requires a 25 feet setback when the primary home only requires 5 feet, and it requires a 25 feet separation from my guest house to my house when most other cities in LA County only require 6 feet. And the last thing is the maximum ADU size that West Covina allows is 800 square feet when the state standards allow up to 50% of your primary home to a maximum of 1,200. So these are the 4 issues that are currently that are currently my concerns to and barriers for me to build my home. So what I wanted to address with you is why the public needs this. And I know that you're worried about proliferation, you're worried about density and control and such, but the fact of the matter is these prevent people like myself who want to build a guest house. It's very costly and it's very time consuming to build a guest house. But currently with the state standards, people can convert their garages, people can add add-ons and do all these things without all of these requirements. But someone like me who wants to build, a private space for my parents as I take care of them is prohibited by these laws. So what I wanted to let you know was the update I wanted to provide to you was that I reached out to the state senator's office who wrote the state bill, and I asked him what was the intention of your law, because clearly the public and the citizens are the ones that are pushing these state laws and these state standards. And what I got back of the 4 issues that I described, I was told that 3 of the 4, so not the maximum lot size, but the minimum lot size, 25 feet setbacks and separations, those are barriers. Currently, the city's laws, those are barriers to build, and that the state senator's office is working on more legislation that will address these 3 issues in 2019, if it passes. So I wanted to let you know that the state is working to address the affordable housing crisis that is already here, and I hope that the city of West Covina can be on board and be aligned with the state and consider those considerations, because the state is moving along in that direction. I hope the city will consider being aligned with the state. I think that the city laws currently are contrary to the state law and might be at risk for litigation. And then they also referred me to the Housing and Development, the Department of Housing and Development, in which case an analyst spoke to me and asked me to reference our city attorney to address the Government Code Section 65852.150, which is located in their booklet that says, the provisions of a local agency's ordinance are not so arbitrary, excessive, or burdensome so as to unreasonably restrict the ability to create an ADU. The whole point of the state law is to reduce barriers, encourage development, because people can't afford housing, and this is what they're looking at in terms to help people. And I hope that the city can really consider that in mind when you think about the recommendations that you make to the city council. Because we're all neighbors, right? We all care about the city that we live in, but we also all know somebody who can't afford housing, who have 2-3 jobs, who have small families, but they can't afford to buy a house. You have adult children that can't buy homes. These casitas and guest houses are really good opportunities for people to be able to take care of their loved ones. In the case of my parents, I'm their retirement plan. I have to think about longevity for the next 30, 40 years. I hope they live that long so that I can take care of them, but also for them to help me with baby care. And the city decides that arbitrarily wants to put 800 square feet as the maximum lot size. That's actually really small for either a small family or for elderly parents, because I can tell you, I take care of my grandparents in her old age, and I can tell you a wheelchair needs wider space, wider hallways, open concepts, bathrooms need accessibility, things like. If you have the ability to allow people to build bigger, like in the state standard, why not? I myself actually can't build to 1,200 because I'm limited by my house. My house size is not 2,400 square feet. What I'm trying to say is the state law is very proportional and very thoughtful and very discreet. You can't build as much or as big as you want. You can only build one in your backyard, and you have all these rules that you should follow. And I hope the city can think about aligning themselves with the state. Thank you.
Thank you for your information.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on oral communications? If not, I'll close oral communication and takes us to public hearings. And the first one will be item 2. It's a conditional use permit number 17-20, categorical exemption. The applicant is Linda Gigi, 1313 South Ardilla Avenue. The request for approval of a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a hobby kennel with a maximum of 20 cats within an existing 1,281 square foot single-family residence. The cats are kept for the purpose of competing in regional and international cat competitions. All the cats have been spayed, neutered, and are not used for breeding purposes and are kept exclusively indoors. May we hear a staff report, and who will be giving it?
Yes, our Associate Planner, Veronica Hernandez, will be presenting that report.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. The project consists of a request to allow a hobby kennel, or cattery, with a maximum of 20 cats within an existing 1,281 square foot single-family residence. The house is located within the R1 single-family residential zone. It is mostly surrounded by single-family residences, as well as a vacant lot and a rehab facility in the neighboring city of Baldwin Park. The West Covina Municipal Code allows a maximum of 4 cats to be kept as pets within a single-family residence, unless a conditional use permit has been granted for a hobby kennel. Therefore, a CUP is required for the additional 16 cats. The Municipal Code does not define hobby kennel or provide any conditions of approval for the operation of a hobby kennel. Staff researched neighboring cities and found that other municipalities generally define a hobby kennel or cattery as the keeping of dogs or cats above the maximum permitted by the city for the purpose of pleasure, profit, breeding, and/or exhibiting. The applicant was visited on September 5th, 2017 by an officer with the County of Los Angeles Department of Animal Care and Control who was responding to a complaint regarding the number of cats on the property. The officer inspected the premises and confirmed that the cats were all in good health and the living conditions were excellent, but that Ms. Gigi, the homeowner, needed to obtain permission from the city to exceed the maximum number of allowed cats. Staff spoke with Officer Almeida with LA County Animal Control on December 20th, 2017, who confirmed that Animal Control did not have any concerns about the property or about the care of the cats other than the homeowner complying with the city ordinance. Excuse me. The applicant indicated that all but 3 of the cats have been exhibited at competitions at least one time. 9 cats are currently eligible for showing, but only 2 have been shown recently due to the cost of competing. The remaining 11 cats are considered retired exhibition animals. Ms. Gigi has been competing in regional and international cat competitions for over 20 years, and the cats have won many awards, and those are included as one of the attachments, and those are just some of the awards. Miss Gigi has raised all of the cats since they were kittens, and they are all considered household pets in the association in which they compete. All of the cats are spayed or neutered and are not used for breeding purposes. The applicant has spay-neuter certificates for 17 of the cats. The others are not available due to the place that they were altered and the time that has elapsed since they were spayed or neutered. The cats are kept exclusively within the house and are not allowed to roam the neighborhood. They are allowed in most rooms of the house, and the applicant has provided 11 litter boxes throughout the house for the cats, as well as numerous beds, toys, tunnels, and boxes. The cats are fed twice a day in carriers. The LA County Animal Control Officer confirmed that all of the cats are in excellent health. Staff confirmed with the Community Enhancement or Code Enforcement Division that they have never received any complaints regarding the cats on the property. The applicant has indicated that she will not be obtaining any more cats as the existing cats age and pass. Staff does not anticipate any impacts to the surrounding neighbors, as the cats are kept inside at all times. The required findings have been made and are included in your staff report. Per CEQA, the project is considered categorically exempt, and that the proposed use will occupy an existing building. The living conditions and health of the cats was deemed excellent by LA County Animal Control. Conditions of approval have been included to mitigate any potential negative impacts from the hobby kennel. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit number 17-20. That concludes staff's report. I am happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is also available.
Thank you for that. Any questions of staff? None? Oh, Mr. Redholt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So is our code currently silent as far as cattery or a hobby kennel? It doesn't reference that at all?
It lists it as one of the allowed uses in the R1 zone, but it doesn't define what a hobby kennel is.
So it says it's allowed, but we don't know what it is.
Yes, allowed through a CUP.
Well, it's in the code, so it's not made up, but it's listed as other uses like market and retail. You know, those aren't, everything in the code is not defined. It's sort of left up to to the description of the term.
And are we looking tonight to establish a number? Or are we just looking at each one of these individually, if any others come forward at some point? Like she's looking for 20. Are we looking to allow a maximum of 20, or are we just dealing with this specific?
In this instance, we're just dealing with this specific request. We haven't looked at defining hobby kennel in the code or at looking at a maximum number of allowed. I think this comes up so rarely that it would be a case-by-case basis depending on the number of animals and the type of animals and where they're located and, you know, what the purpose is, everything like that. There's a lot of variables.
Okay, so it would just be on a case-by-case. We don't have to set anything in stone with numbers. Okay. And my other question is, the report indicated that our code enforcement has received no complaints, but apparently the county has, at least one. Do we know of any more, or?
The applicant may be better able to answer that, but I believe this is the first and only complaint, and it was regarding the number.
Okay, and we also notified by mail 46 owners and occupants. Have we heard anything back from any of them?
That is correct, and I haven't received anything from any neighbors in that zone.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Attachment number 4, the County of Los Angeles. It states here, you have 20 cats, City of West Covina. You're not allowed to have more than 4 without a permit.
unless you can provide us with a permit from the city, you'll have to remove 16. What is the permit that we're going to get?
The permit would be the conditional use permit resolution of approval.
So it's not a permit, it's just it'd be a resolution that we approve this particular one. Okay. Any other questions of staff? Commissioner Hermanis?
So I believe it's a function of the number of animals. I think I had a similar situation in my household. They told me I cannot go over 4 animals, otherwise they would classify me as a kennel, hence the CUP. At least that's my understanding, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And under CEQA, this is a cat exemption.
The cat exemption, yeah.
Okay. Thought I'd throw it out there.
Otherwise known as a categorical exemption, but yes, well said.
I'm here all night.
Any other questions of staff?
I guess I do. So the Code of West Covina only allows 4. I'm sorry. So the Code of West Covina only allows 4 animals or pets. Is that?
I believe that the answer to that is dogs and cats. We're not talking about all types of animals.
Just dogs and cats,
Yeah.
and it's in our code, the limit is 4? Or is this a county?
The limit is 4 in the West Covina Municipal Code for cats. I'm not sure on the number of dogs, and it also addresses the combination of dogs and cats. I think it's a total of 4 of any cat or dog.
I would believe maybe that, because this is on a county form, county says 4, so I would think maybe that's a county.
The county's only objection was the city code, the city ordinance. The county doesn't, as far as I know, have a limit on the number. They didn't mention it to me when I talked to them.
Any other questions of staff?
I think the county's job was more about health and safety and welfare of the animals.
Anyone else? No? Okay, I'll open it up to public testimony. Would the applicant like to come up, please?
Hi, everybody. I have been showing these cats for a long time. They're my children. Oh, I'm Linda Giggy, and I live at 1313 South Ardella. My husband and I, he introduced me to the cat fancy, showing cats, household pets, and we just kind of accumulated, and then he passed away in December of 2015, which kind of left me with all the care. And I clean boxes twice a day. My cats are fed really good food as much as I can. They're dry food and canned food, and they're fed in carriers for one reason only, to make sure that I can monitor their food intake and who is eating and who is not. If you've had animals, you know that we go for dogs, you have the aggressive eaters, then you have the very light eaters or the very quiet eaters. And I have a little exotic short hair that's a household pet. She's got that flat face like a Persian, and she eats very slow. So I keep them all separate so I can monitor everything they eat. I clean the litter boxes once a day regularly. They're scooped up and put into the trash can. They're scooped up in a bag and put in the trash can so that there isn't a lot of smell. I try to keep it down. I have 2 kinds of litter. I have clay, clumping clay that has an odor eliminator in it, and I have a crystal litter that is also the same way. It kind of takes the poop and makes it dehydrate. And it takes the liquid and put it in the bottom. So I monitor all my food, I monitor all my cats and their health. They sit down, and if I sit down in a chair, I end up with one here, one there, one behind, and one in my lap. They're loved a lot. I pet them a lot. They're 4-legged children. All of my children are gone. I mean, not gone, grown. I have 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. So my family is gone, out of the house, so the cats are my children now. And I treat them the same as I would my children. They get scolded when they're a bad kitty, and they get loved a lot. I mean, lots. They just love to be pet. Anybody that walks in, and I think Veronica can confirm this, and the animal control person confirm it, they walk in, and I have cats that want to be petted. So they're very friendly. They're not aggressive. They just love to be loved. And I love to love them. Thank you. Is there any questions?
Yes, question for you, ma'am. How did you come about on the number of 20?
Well, that's all I have now. Through the years, they've either died or they've gotten sick, and so I have a very good vet in Roland Heights who takes good care of them, and that's all I have now is 20.
So
I don't want to have any more. They're just, it's doing everything I can to take care of this many. This is my maximum that I can handle. And I have some 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds, so I have quite a few older cats that when they pass, they're not going to be replaced. It's just, I'm 75 years old, you know, and I don't know that I could take another 10 or 15 years of a kitten.
So if I understand what you're saying is the cats pass away, you are not going to replace?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the applicant?
I have a question. So
Reynolds?
what is the maximum you've had?
Up to 30,
You've had up to 30.
and they've passed away and gotten sick or died, and so, yeah, I'm down to 20, and that's plenty for me.
So we're down to 20 because that's what's in front of us is the number 20.
Yes,
So if we were to go ahead and approve, it would be a 20 number.
yes. Yes.
Garden View behind you, have they expressed any concern, or has there ever been an issue with them?
No, they have a huge fence. Matter of fact, they put an extra fence up behind me without my permission on the fence. So, no, I've had things thrown in my yard from them. But no, the cats are indoors. They're never outside.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anything?
Commissioner Jimenez?
Do your cats ever get anxious to want to head outside, or
Nope.
does their daily business maybe require a trip to the exterior of the house?
Nope. What they do is that they look outside, I open doors, I have screen doors on every door. 2 of them have security doors, and I plan to put another security door up. They just sit there and watch the birds go by, but I will tell you that I don't have any flies, spiders, or bugs in my house.
You're capped at 20 according to the application, so I'm not sure how much you could take on. And then just one more question. Do these cats, in addition to being showcase ready, do you offer them for companionship, maybe folks at local centers, that sort of thing?
I am
Or is it-
seriously thinking about putting one in as a therapy cat. I have a beautiful red point, long hair. He's got part ragdoll in him, which means that he loves to be touched, loves to be handled. As a matter of fact, I took him to a Girl Scout meeting. We had, the association I belong to is TICA, the International Cat Association, which is a very international organization. We're all over the world. And I had him out, and he let everybody touch him and pet him, and he just purred. And as a matter of fact, I hold him upside down because that's his favorite way of being held, and he just kind of flops that little head back. And so, yeah, he would be one that I would like to put into a therapy program because he is so easy to get along with.
Thank you.
I have one more.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Have you read all the conditions? There's like
Yes.
15 of them, and you're good with all of them, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. You're all welcome to come visit at any time. I clean my floors as much as I can, often as I can. And I sweep them daily, sometimes 3 times a day, because, fur kind of floats.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone, I have another card here. It says 4 with many conditions, and that's Donnie Mercado and Ginocchio. Would you like to come up?
My name is Donnie Mercado Ginocchio. I was born and raised at 1310.
State your name, please, for the record.
My name is Donnie Mercado Ginocchio.
Okay.
I was born and raised at 1310 South Ardilla Avenue, West Covina, California, 91790. My mother is the owner of that residence along with Fran Perez, who is also here in person with me. I am reading this on behalf of my mother, Loretta Hernandez, and Fran Perez. We understand that Linda Giggy at 1313 South Ardilla Avenue has applied for a conditional use permit to allow the operation of a hobby kennel with a maximum of 20 cats. We, Loretta Hernandez and Fran Perez, live directly across the street. In response to the letter indicating that any challenges need to be made verbally or in writing by today, March 27, 2018, our initial reaction was to 100% object to this request altogether. The initial reasons for objection are the following. If approved, this may set a precedence for others to make similar requests to house sanctuaries for other types of animals in this area and therefore lower our property values. 2, it is not sanitary to house so many animals in such a small enclosed space. 3, we are concerned that the improper disposal of cat urine or cat feces can bring diseases to the area, either airborne or otherwise. 4, we are concerned about the potential outbreak of a flea infestation of her home and how that may spill over to the entire neighborhood, bringing disease with it and therefore endangering neighboring residents and our pets. 5, we are concerned for the health of Miss Giggy if the interior of the home is not kept up to health department codes and properly ventilated. 6, this cannot be healthy for the cats themselves. 7, we don't believe that this request is being made in order to operate an actual hobby kennel or sanctuary. We believe this request is being made by Ms. Giggy in order to circumvent the West Covina City Ordinance that may limit the number of cats she can legally keep in a residence and that the number of cats she now keeps as pets exceed that limit. This is where it turns. With number 7 in mind, as we are pet lovers ourselves, we don't want her to have to be forced to give up her already existing pets without first being given the chance to meet the requested conditions. After further consideration, we have the following questions and request the following conditions be met prior to the approval of Ms. Giggy's request. Questions. 1, will the health department be giving Ms. Giggy a strict timeline to get her residents up to code for proper cleanliness and health conditions with the health of the cats in mind? We request this be demanded as a condition. 2, will the health department or animal control be monitoring the fact that Ms. Giggy is properly vaccinating and licensing all pets within the residence? We request this be demanded as a condition. 3, will Ms. Giggy be given any special restrictions and or guidelines to follow in terms of how, when, and where to dispose of such a large quantity of urine and feces? We request this be demanded as a condition. Will the health department and animal control continue to make cyclical visits to ensure that the residence is kept up to code for the life of the hobby kennel permit? And if so, how long between visits? We request this be demanded as a condition. Will the health department and or animal control monitor the monthly application of flea control on all pets kept within the residence? We request this be demanded as a condition. 6, if not kept up to health department or animal control code, what is the timeline Ms. Giggy will be given prior to being asked to turn in any of her sanctuary animals / pets to a more appropriate shelter? Finally, we ask that Ms. Giggy meet health department and animal control, health, cleanliness, and animal welfare codes and standards prior to this being approved. We request that if and when those standards are not met, that the hobby kennel license be revoked and any cats above the appropriate number of a residence of licensed pet in West Covina be turned into the closest no-kill shelter to seek adoption from more appropriate homes. Sincerely, Loretta Hernandez and Fran Perez of 1310 South Ardilla Avenue, West Covina, California, 91790. Read aloud at the March 27th hearing by the daughter of Loretta Hernandez, Donnie Mercado Ginocchio. All signatures appear below. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, any questions of Commissioner Reynolds?
Thank you for coming. How long have they lived at that location?
My mother lived there since 1963, is that right? I was born in 66, and she moved in 3 or 4 years before I was born.
And Ms. Gigi apparently has had these cats there for quite some time. Have they noticed any issues at all? You referenced a whole lot of potential issues. Has there been any indication of any of those issues over the years?
Not recently. In prior years, there was concern about feeding stray cats outside the front yard, and they were wandering about, but that has ceased over the years.
Okay. And apparently, I don't know if you've seen it, we have a document from the County Health Department indicating that the conditions are excellent in that home at the present time.
Yes. Well,
And-
that all is very informative. What she read prior to me being asked to come up is all very informative and great news. These questions came up prior to us learning about the visits, and I know just by hearing you ask questions that there is not a specific code for the hobby kennel. So I, as the future inheritor of that home, would hope that some of these requested conditions might be written into any potential future code for a hobby kennel.
See, my guess is, and, maybe staff can, answer it, but, the county has certain guidelines, restrictions, and requirements that is different from what the city has. And I'm sure that over the course of their due diligence, that Ms. Gigi or anybody else who's in a similar situation would have to be in compliance and be prepared for, regular or surprise visits by the county to make sure things are the way they're supposed to be. But that's a county situation. So I assume that would be the same thing with her, or, she's got to meet those guidelines and stay within those guidelines. So I don't know that it's absolutely necessary to enumerate each and every one of those conditions. What you're referring to is probably already in the county guidelines.
Perhaps it is. We were just in the dark as to what those guidelines or conditions are being asked of her. So we
Right.
just didn't want to not show up.
I'm glad
not,
you're here.
you
I'm
know.
glad you're here because you're directly affected because you're across the street.
Right.
And also, as I've said to other people with, that are in neighborhoods with situations, you're the eyes and ears. You're across the
Right.
street. So if you go, hey, that ain't right,
Yeah.
hello.
Well, and what I also feel wouldn't be right is for her to be forced to give up her children of many years just because she's only supposed to have 4. I just want to make sure that, the things in this letter are addressed and/or the guidelines that you said she's already been given.
Right. I appreciate that. So, I think everybody's doing the right thing. So it's very good, and I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, hi.
Sorry.
Hi.
Yes.
I have a question, though. I'm curious, since you were born there, you lived there for so long, and your mom was there too, and she had these cats for a long time. I guess my question is, besides the stray cat, do you have any problem with all the cats around? Have you seen them outside?
My Aunt Fran Perez lives there. I addressed that in previous years, yes. There were cats wandering around and out front, and growing up as a kid, I know that some of the mean boys on the street were not nice to her cats that were wandering outside. So I think that it's better for the cat's welfare that she's chosen to keep this number that she has now and keep them indoors only because it's for their safety. I think that's great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Would you like to come up and speak? No? Okay. Very
Anything
much.
else? Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in favor of the project? Okay. Anyone want to speak against the project? Okay, we'll close it to public testimony and open it to commission discussion.
Who'd like to go first?
Well, perhaps I might add a little bit just to the conversation, because I do appreciate all the discussion that's gone on so far, just to kind of provide a little basis for discussion. The city, if the city determines to allow this kennel to have 20 cats, and then let's just say for sake of discussion that something happens and they're not cared for, if they're not being cared for, I mean, probably all of you have watched Animal Planet at some point or another. If the animals aren't cared for appropriately, they can still, the animal control can still come in and take the animals away for their own safety. So that's their job. Their job is the safety and welfare of the animals. And I don't think I really need to say this because I think everybody understands it because we've said it so many times, but the animal control officer that came by did not find that situation there, or else we wouldn't even be having this discussion. They would have taken the animals away right away, and they wouldn't even have, Linda wouldn't even have had a chance to come and request this permit. So there are things that animal control is going to do without being told to. Animal control doesn't work for us. That they kind of have their own set of responsibilities, and we have our set of responsibilities. So I just wanted to kind of cover that. This does not protect her from losing the animals if she doesn't care for them or keep them in a safe condition.
Do we know if there's a procedure for animal control with this number of cats to come out periodically?
I do not know. I think from the discussions a few discussions I had with Linda that, and talking with Veronica, that basically they came out unannounced because they had a complaint or something, and they can always do that. But I'm not sure that they will monitor on a normal basis unless they hear of a complaint and they'll come out and check out the situation.
Is that something we can request in a resolution?
We could request. I would suggest not requiring it, because I don't know that we can require something of animal control, but we could request it of them. We could request it to
a request.
Yeah, check periodically, maybe every 12 months or something, as it suits their schedule, something like that.
Yeah, because we did that with the trash, type of thing. Every 6 months, they'd follow up and take a look at it.
Well, that's us. That's us. You're looking at who's going to follow up with that.
But I'm just saying, us can request it. They don't have to do it, but
Yes,
we can request it.
we could do
Okay.
that, yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Hunt, would you like to speak?
When you have animal with animal control, I think you have to take out permits. So every year, your permit has to be renewed, I think.
I think that that's dogs. I don't think cats need a license.
No, they don't.
So cats don't need, it is kind of confusing that way, but most smaller animals don't need a license. Dogs do, there's no question about that. But cats have not historically, most cities don't require cat licenses.
Commissioner Amanis?
So I think I go back to the minute you exceed the threshold of the 4 animals, you get kicked into more of a kennel classification from the county, which means, if I recall correctly, that you may be subject to additional scrutiny to that of a normal homeowner that has a couple pets in the house. So I believe there should be some built-in mechanisms already with animal control that should safeguard in the unlikely event that something gets out of control, I would think. Again, because I think in their eyes, they see this now as a quote-unquote kennel, not necessarily a property owner with 2 pets or the cap, at least in my experience.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? No? Okay, we'll close commission discussion at this time. And
Mr. Chairman, I will.
I'd like to, any discussion from the commission other than what we just had? Okay. I guess my concern is 20 cats in a 1,200 square foot house is a lot of animals, but I don't want to take them away from her. She's had them for a long time. So one of the things I would suggest that in the resolution we put in that, and she stated she would be willing to do this, that as they pass away, she does not replace and keeps the number so it would gradually go down. I don't know how we control that. I don't know how we monitor that. Okay.
We did try to word a condition in that way. It's condition H on page 4 of the reso, and I'll read it for you. No additional cat, well, the first before it says 20 permitted cats. And also, there's two conditions that say 20. And then H is no additional cats are permitted. No further cats will be obtained as the existing cats age and pass.
We also have the condition that we be given a registry of the existing cats, including their name, age, coloring, and that way it would help us keep track of the cats if it became an issue.
Social security number, those kind of things.
I would also like to include in the resolution that we request at least an annual inspection of the county health department. I mean, they don't have to do it, but at least we can request it.
You can request that. You can make that part of the motion.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, that. Anyone else? Can we have the resolution numbers, please?
Yes. The resolution, it's just a conditional use permit, so it's one resolution. That is 18-5944.
Okay, and the passing of this motion is with the two items that I added to be included in it.
Two items? The annual
The annual
inspection?
check, and that when cats die,
Oh, yeah,
can't replace.
that's already in there.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay,
I'll
can we have
second that
roll call,
motion
please?
with the additional condition.
So we have Dawn Chairman Holtz makes the motion, and Commissioner Castellanos is seconding that.
Can I make a quick comment since we have a motion and a second? That is one reason, the reason why I asked the applicant if she was familiar with all the conditions, because those conditions are all laid out. So I wanted to make sure she had read them and understood them.
Okay,
Okay.
do we have roll call then?
Yes, Commissioner Hing.
Yes.
Commissioner Menace.
Yes.
Commissioner Redholz.
Aye.
Commissioner Castellanos.
Yes.
Chairman Holtz.
Yes, passes 5-0. This action is final unless appealed to the city council within 10 days. Thank you very much. Okay. Brings us to item number 3, tree removal permit number 18-05. Categorical exemption, the applicant is Joan Nessie. Location is 3218 East Oak Knoll Drive. Request for removal of an oak tree in the side yard of a single-family residence.
Our Associate Planner, Veronica Hernandez, will be presenting that report.
Thank you. Give me just a second here. Okay. All right. Applicant is requesting the approval of a tree removal permit to allow the removal of an oak tree in the front yard of a single-family residence. Property is located within the residential agriculture RA zone, Area District 3. Due to the size and health of the tree, the planning director forwarded the item to the planning commission for review. Oak trees that are located anywhere on a lot and have a caliber of 6 inches or more are defined as significant trees in the West Covina Municipal Code. Subject tree is approximately 30 feet tall with a caliber of approximately 2 to 3 feet. In order to remove significant trees from private property, the code requires that the applicant obtain a tree removal permit from the planning department. The applicant is requesting the removal of the oak tree because the tree is leaning against an existing block wall and causing damage to that wall. The roots of the tree are also damaging an existing patio slab to the side of the house. The applicant's daughter, Kim Nessie, indicated a homeowner's insurance consultant visited the house and recommended that she remove the tree for liability reasons. The applicant's daughter also indicated that her mother, the applicant who resides at the house, is elderly and that the uneven concrete patio slab poses a potential health or fall risk. The applicant submitted an application for removal of the tree on February 13th, 2018. And again, it was forwarded to the Planning Commission for review as the tree is significant in size and appears healthy. The zoning code includes provisions for the protection and unnecessary removal of California black walnut trees, heritage trees, oak trees, and sycamore trees, which are significant trees. In this case, the removal of a mature oak tree would require the approval of the tree removal permit. The code establishes criteria to provide direction to staff regarding the removal of such trees. The decision to issue or deny the permit is based on the criteria included in your staff report. So I'm going to go through those criteria right now as well as staff's findings of those criteria. Whether the condition of the tree with respect to disease, damage, danger of collapse, proximity to an existing structure, age, and remaining lifespan warrants the removal of the tree. Staff visited the property on March 6, 2018, and found the tree to be in good health with no signs of disease or damage. While the tree is located near an existing structure, the block wall, the cost of fully removing the tree and the roots would likely be comparable to removing the wall and rebuilding it further from the tree. Furthermore, it is unlikely the tree can be fully removed without causing further damage to the block wall and the concrete patio slab. Removing the wall and repairing the patio will likely not damage the tree. Criteria B is taking into consideration the size, shape, and topography and existing trees. Denial of the permit would create an unreasonable hardship on the property owner, such as prohibiting the construction of a structure. Denial of the permit would not create an unreasonable hardship on the property owner. The removal of the tree will likely damage the wall and patio the applicant is trying to protect. A new wall and patio could be built further away from the tree. Criteria C, the number, size, and location of existing trees in the area and effect on the requested action in terms of providing shade, historic value, and scenic beauty of the area or neighborhood. The oak tree is located in the front yard and contributes to the overall scenic beauty of Oak Knoll Drive. Since 1992, staff has approved just one tree removal permit for the removal of an oak tree. That was TRP 1102, which was located to the rear of the property. However, it is likely that oak trees on this street have been removed in the past without permits. Criteria D and E relate to topography, soil erosion, water retention, and whether or not the tree is required to be preserved. Neither of those really apply here. Removal of the tree would have no significant effect on soil erosion, water retention, water diversion, etc., and it's not required to be preserved by any precise plan or other approved plan. I know that was a lot. Thanks for bearing with me. The Preservation, Protection, and Removal of Trees section of the code provides policy direction to staff on how to respond to removal requests for heritage and significant trees. Section 26-290F states that oak trees greater than 3 feet in caliber shall not be removed for an accessory property use, such as a driveway or landscape change. While the oak tree in question is not 3 feet in caliber, the code does set a tone that discourages the removal of oak trees for an accessory property use. The issue at hand is whether the wall and patio that require the removal of the oak tree fit into the context of accessory property uses. The wall was clearly constructed after the tree began growing. It is also clear that the tree is damaging the wall. If the Planning Commission determines that the wall and patio being damaged do not fit under accessory property uses, the criteria for approval of the removal of the tree could be made. Specifically, criteria A, B, and C could be met as follows, and again, D and E don't really apply to the preservation or removal of the tree. So if you determine that these do not fit under accessory property uses, criteria A, which relates to proximity to an existing structure, staff finds that the oak tree is located in close proximity to an existing block wall. The tree is leaning against the block wall and causing damage to its structure. If the tree continues to grow, the wall will eventually be damaged beyond repair. Additionally, the roots are damaging an existing concrete patio slab, creating an uneven surface that could create a fall hazard. Criteria B, concerning unreasonable hardship. Denial of the permit could create a hardship on the property owner by allowing continued damage to the wall and patio slab and requiring the owner to remove and relocate these structures. And item C, about the number, size, and location of existing trees in the area. The oak tree is one of a few located in the front yards of the properties on the south side of Oak Knoll Drive. However, there are numerous trees, including oak trees, lining the street on the northern side of Oak Knoll Drive. Pursuant to CEQA guidelines, this project is categorically exempt as the project involves minor grading and tree removal. Should the Planning Commission determine to approve tree removal permit number 1805, conditions of approval are provided in your staff report. Staff recommends the Planning Commission make the decision they believe to be most appropriate. That concludes staff's presentation. The applicant was not able to be here tonight, and her daughter, who has been handling it, she lives in Virginia. So she is not here, but I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability.
Well, and apparently we do have a gentleman here representing. We weren't aware that he was going to be here. But and I wanted to follow up with a couple things. You know, contrary to popular belief, our life isn't all just, bubble gum and flowers. We have some things we wrestle with, and this is one of the things that we wrestle with the most is tree removal, because most of the time people are very when they come to talk to us, they've already decided the tree is a nuisance and a problem, and, they just can't live life with that tree in their way. So we go out and look at the tree, and sometimes it's not in very good health. In this case, this tree looks like it's in very good health. I didn't notice any problems with the tree, and there's lots of problems with oak trees right now with the droughts and bug infestations. I would say this, it does look like it hasn't been trimmed very appropriately for an oak tree. It doesn't look like a natural oak. It's got a form that you wouldn't expect with an oak tree. But otherwise, it's in very good condition. Clearly, I don't know why a wall was built that close to any tree. That was the mistake that someone made, probably in the 70s, based on the way that wall looks. It wouldn't have made any, I don't care how small that tree was at the time, it wouldn't have made any sense then. So that was a big mistake that whoever built that wall there, they were just asking for this to happen whenever, the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years. The main problem with these kind of things is, ideally, the best thing is to move it, right? So if somebody's building something, we can relocate it, we can have them build a little bit different, but we can't do that in this case. You've already got a fixed improvement, and you've got a fixed tree that can't be cut in half. You either kill it or you save it. It's the only two choices. So we always look at that. We look at the code. The code is the direction the council has given us in order to how to move forward and how to answer questions of people. So that's why Veronica cited that section, because it kind of gives us direction to say, hey, there's a certain point when you shouldn't allow people to remove trees just because they want to build some kind of doodad in their yard. It's a structure, redevelopment, new buildings. Those are different. They put those in a different category. So that's where we find ourselves here. They're not proposing to build a structure. They're proposing to save a structure, which is not what the code really talks about. So it's that question of whether that applies, that accessory structure thing applies. And I think that staff is sort of on the fence on that. But we also think that these type of decisions, as we talk about all the time, should be made in a transparent, open forum and not behind closed doors during somebody's work week. And when nobody knows until it's cut down that it's gonna be cut down. So those are the reasons that it's here before you. I apologize. We usually try to package up a little bit better to help you, but this one is just a little bit harder for us to provide concrete direction. We think the code says be careful, don't get rid of oak trees just because people don't like them. The ultimate irony here is it's oak knoll, and now we're going to get rid of all the oak trees. And I think and the gentleman here may testify the same thing, that people have been removing them all over the place without coming to us. So then we have that added situation where we want to punish the people who are trying to cooperate, while the people who are just doing things behind the scenes, they're cutting them down. There's no remuneration to them. So that's an added thing here too that we understand may be happening, but nevertheless, we have the code in front of us, and this is where we're at. So I wanted to add those few comments. I think Veronica covered the detail issues.
There is an alternate you can do, which is going to be very costly, and that's to remove the wall back, or break down. But the way that I was out there, the way that tree is leaning, it's just going to be a matter of time before it's going to fall on one house or the other, or lean on some other structure. It's very close to the house, the owner's house, on the roof. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's a very attractive tree. I mean, I'm all for oak trees and all that.
Well, it has been, and I think I would ask before you have any discussion, I would ask the gentleman to come up, and anybody else who might want to speak. This isn't a public notice, so we didn't notice it. Only people who really know about it right now is the applicant. But you do have someone here, I think, who is ready to speak about it, and then you can.
But a question I have, when they talk about removing the tree, are they talking about removing the stump also?
It's not clear in their application. However, the concern is about the concrete patio, and the roots and everything will continue breaking up that patio if they don't take everything out.
Yeah, because I'm kind of familiar with trees, and you can cut them down, but it takes a long time for them to die, and those roots will keep, and the woman is legally blind. And also the homeowner's insurance says it's a matter of time before it's going to fall on the structure. So I think you got to take those things in consideration.
I don't want to bash homeowners insurance people, but sometimes they're not very expert on things. No. I would say this, just because a tree's leaning doesn't mean it's going to fall. I think we can go find trees in sequoia forests that are leaning, that have been there leaning for hundreds of years. So I know what you're saying, trees do grow, and sometimes they are falling, but usually the health of the tree helps you see what might happen there, and this tree looks very healthy. But, so I don't know that the insurance man was an arborist or had really any good idea about how the health of the tree, the likelihood of it falling. I have a doubt about that myself, but that's just my personal opinion on that.
Okay, anybody have questions of staff? Commissioner Reynolds?
Yeah, I have a question. We reference, in the staff report, we reference the cost of things. Have we had somebody coming out and given us an estimate or given anyone an estimate to determine a cost comparison between the two ideas? No, we're just making an assumption.
The applicant's daughter indicated that, in her opinion, and based on her estimates, that removing the tree would be more cost-effective. But we haven't had anyone go out and estimate that ourselves.
And one other question, the Comstock project across the way there, they removed a lot of oak trees, I believe, for that project. Or some type of...
I didn't know it was going to be tested on something that happened 14 years ago, but I don't recall. There was some saved, though, too, I think. There were some saved along the creek bed. I think you're probably right, and we can also point to some other developments where trees... I think there were some trees removed on the development that just happened, the oak, whatever it's called, the one that was just built. I think there was a few oaks that were removed because of that, on that one too. So it's not like, again, the city, the code doesn't say we can't remove oaks. It just says.
There's a process.
There's a process, and make wise decisions about, if you could save them, and don't just design minor accessory things around them.
Right.
Design those differently so you can save the oak tree.
And I don't know whether those trees were replaced as part of
Well, they did, I remember they replaced
Did they replace
some
them?
trees.
Yes,
Yeah.
actually, there was an
There were
issue
oaks
on the new development recently where a sycamore died, and they replaced the sycamore there. It's never 1-to-1, right? You can't replace a 2-foot wide tree, but you can plant trees, yes.
Mr. Perry, would you like to come up?
My name is Chris Canning. I live at 3200 Oak Road, which is 3 doors down from Yeah, I went down and looked at the tree. I'm really fond of the oak trees. I just love them. And when they cut down all those oaks in order to put that condominium project in across the street, that irritated me to no end. Some of those oaks were 250 years old. But this tree, there's a good possibility that actually the wall is the only thing holding up the tree anymore. The tree has grown up, and it has grown up around the wall. And the strongest part of the wall is the pilaster, which is, what do you call those blocks? I mean, the slumpstone blocks, 12 by 12, concrete filled with a whole bunch of steel. So that's that's the strongest part of the wall. The part of the wall that is breaking is, got no steel and very little concrete in it. But the pilasters on the gate, for the gate, which is where your picture up there, you see it leaning against that. And if we remove the wall, there's going to be a wedge out of that tree, because it has grown around it, about 10 inches by 8 inches by 6 inches. I mean, that's a pretty good slice of cheese that would fit in there. So there's a good chance that the wall is holding up the tree as much as the tree is holding up the wall. And in any event, you can't see it in the pictures here, but that tree goes sort of over the wall and over the patio area, and the whole bulk, the whole mass of the tree, really, I mean, it's a big, strong trunk to be sure, but once it goes over the wall, it goes over and up, and the trunk over there is about 2 feet diameter, and it goes up, and there's, most of the mass of that tree is in the other side of the wall, so it's sort of pivoting along the wall right now. I wouldn't want to be the guy that took the wall down, hoping that the tree will stay where it is. I think it's a dangerous situation. If it goes at all, it will take out certainly the roof of the garage, maybe depending how far it falls, it'll take out part of the living area of the house, kitchen area, and so on. I'm not a professional construction guy, although I've done my fair share over the years. But I think it needs to come out. Much as I love oak trees, I think this is one that really should come out of there. And I talked Mrs. Nessie into the idea that, if we take that one out, we should plant another oak tree or so. Obviously, she's not undertaking to put a 30-foot oak in there, but from little acorns, mighty oaks grow. So we'll start modestly. Presumably, the front yard should be a good place for it. That oak tree grew. The ones are growing across the street. Now, I just might add, though, that when the contractor built the houses there, I was one of the first owners. He brought in soil from someplace else that he declared to be the best topsoil that money could buy. And I've been pulling asphalt out of that topsoil for years and years. So, anybody have any questions to me?
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to speak on the project? Okay. Where do we go from here, Mr. Planning Director? There's no
I have a question.
question? Okay, question.
I have a question. We have not had, there has not been a professional arborist give a diagnosis or an opinion on this situation, have we?
No, we require an arborist report if the applicant is reporting that the tree is dead or diseased, but that's not what they're reporting, so we didn't require it, and the city doesn't have an arborist on staff.
I know, we have a contract, though, with, I think, either WCA,
Yeah, with a company.
West Coast Arborist,
But
I
I'm
think
not
we do.
sure. Yes, we do. And I'm not sure if they have an arborist on staff. They probably do. I've never met the person. We could check that, but the applicant is not claiming that the tree is going to fall over. I don't think the applicant claims that. The applicant's just claiming that it's damaging the wall and the ground, and it's causing problems. So if they would have claimed that it was falling over, they're taking the word of their insurance guy who says, that tree might cause problems in the future. Something that general is the way I took the conversation we had with her. So, yeah, this isn't about, although the gentleman here just testified to his concern about that, the applicant hasn't made that an issue, and an arborist, I'm pretty sure an arborist wouldn't find anything wrong with that tree. I've seen diseased trees. I know what the borer does to the tree. I know what you can tell when oak trees do not lose their leaves don't turn brown. So if you see an oak tree with brown leaves, at any point, branches, the whole thing, it's in stress. But that tree didn't have any brown leaves on it. It's totally green. So it doesn't have stress. It's not in bad health. The trunk is solid. There doesn't appear to be any infestation of insects or anything in there. So I say that from my point of view. I'm not an arborist, but what I want to really make clear is that the applicant hasn't claimed that the tree is in a bad situation.
Okay. And as I read this, it looks like we have to determine the accessory property use definition as far as what to do with how that tree falls.
I guess it's tonight.
Poor choice of words.
Tonight,
but how that-
yeah. It's a night of interpretations. You had to
Yes.
figure out what a hobby kennel is, and now you have to figure out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think in a strict sense, it doesn't fall into that definition in a strict sense. But the question is, how much do you narrowly define that, or do you define it into generalities?
Well, I mean, the difference is, if the tree was there and they were coming in saying, hey, we want to build a wall, but the walls, it's backwards.
Yes, it is backwards.
Yeah. So, I mean, therein lies the nut, as they say.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think,
Yes.
I think you're shortchanging the insurance guy, because I had a big tree, and I used to get leaves on my roof, and I'd clean them off every year. But we had a big rainstorm here a couple of years ago, and it leaked, okay? They wouldn't pay anything, but they said there were leaves on the roof. Now, this tree is leaning more and more and more towards that house. So if anything does happen in the future, they've got it in writing that they didn't recommend it. Okay, whether this guy's an expert or not, that's in the insurance writing, and they probably won't pay any of the claims on it. Okay, I'm more concerned. I love trees too, but I'm more concerned that and I want to put it in the findings that they have to take that stump out of there, because those roots will keep growing until they grind those roots out of there, and it's going to keep moving that wall on the ground area. So I think that's one of the things I'd like to put into the approval. But I'm in favor of removing the tree. And I think we could probably, can we put something in there that they have to plant another tree? You know, and their front yards there are huge. I mean, they got big front yards, so there's plenty of room to plant another one.
Yeah, so let me just say what we normally do on, and it's actually in there. I don't know if Veronica can tell me which condition it is, but number 4. So what we normally do, because we get tree removal permits all the time, 99% of the tree removal permits don't come to you because they're mostly ornamental trees that aren't protected trees. They're not oaks, they're not sycamores. So we approve them. In a single-family house situation, we usually recommend. We don't require, we recommend. So that's why we've done it this way. The Planning Commission, you don't have to follow our protocol. If you want to require it, you can. If we're going to require it, we probably need to come up with size box to tell them what size, so that we don't go out there and they've planted an acorn with a little thing growing. And I'm not looking for, probably a 15-gallon is probably what I would be suggesting. You want something that people can move around. You don't want them to have to get a bobcat to move the thing on with it, or have to mortgage the house to get a $1,000 tree. That's not my goal either, but trees have a cost, and obviously someone of the lady that we're talking about here is not going to be able to move a tree and dig a hole and make sure that it's, everything's ready to go. So that adds a little bit to it.
Commissioner Hung?
I guess I'll go. Hang. Yes, thank you. I just basically think that the tree has been there for hundreds of years. I don't know, oak tree, it grows really slow. And if they were to build a retaining wall, a tree with this size and this particular wall is not structural wall, it's basically for dividing. It doesn't hold up a tree, or it doesn't do anything per se. So the tree does look healthy. If they can do anything, they can always cut the wall and rebuild the wall in one day. But this oak tree is not going to grow in one day. Also concrete, if it's lifting, they can also sand it down as well. There are certain, I've seen street, sidewalk everywhere, from Santa Monica to here, even into some other cities, they sand them down so that it kind of level it out. So there are things that you can do to help the situation. And also, if the insurance made a statement, who's not an arborist, saying that the tree is going to lean or it's going to fall, maybe we should get an arborist or ask the insurance company and request them to get an arborist and say, hey, this tree is going to lean, if it's going to fall, what have you. But if it looks healthy, we basically, all of us, we can't decide that it's going to, lean tomorrow or it's going to fall tomorrow, because it hasn't. And tree normally, especially oak, if it lives for a long time, it has good root systems, and it tends to, hold itself up. It is a tall tree. It must have good root system. Whether it's leaning or not, it seems like someone cut a huge chunk of it off where the wall is at and built the wall in the old days. So I'm just saying that, to repair the wall, it's probably take a day. But to grow that tree and have it replaced, I'm not sure how many hundreds of years to get to that size. And just having an insurance company making a statement that it's not a good tree, or it's going to lean and fall over, it's not good enough. Maybe because the oak tree is being protected, we should get an arborist or ask the homeowner to get an arborist involved. so that we can have a better, can make a better decision based on experts on the oak trees versus what the insurance company said. And besides, a few years ago, when there was a big windstorm that went across, insurance companies pay for trees that falls over anything, even the neighbor's house. So I'm not sure if this insurance company stated that I'm not selling you the insurance because of the trees, or I don't have that. I basically can't make a decision, and I think it's easy for a wall to be replaced, and it's easy for concrete to be even replaced or sand down, and that it's not that much cost. In terms of time-wise, we're talking about one-day work versus it could be hundreds of days to grow that tree, so it's kind of like really difficult to make that.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't the neighbor's fence being pushed and all that from the root system, and they're having trouble opening and closing their gate? I think I read that in the report somewhere. Or
That's what
maybe
the
it was in the letter.
applicant indicated in her letter, yes.
Yeah, that it's the root system that is causing the automatic gate not to open, right, and it's going to get bigger. Commissioner Reynolds.
Well, I'm just backing up a little bit with Commissioner Hing said, and I think the insurance company, I think they're trying to cover their butt on this too by making that statement. You know, they're trying to protect so they don't have to, if something happens, I think they're just trying to cover themselves. But I went out there and the wall, I mean, the wall runs straight across to the neighbor. It's like one wall connected to both houses. So, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out the one day thing I have a little question about. I mean, it seems to me the whole thing would have to be removed and repositioned. I mean, all the way across, you can't go halfway and leave the other half.
And the neighbor might not allow it to be done.
Well, they may not have to allow, they may not allow it, and also they may not want to share, there's like shared cost.
Okay.
Unless somebody's going to pick up the whole tab.
And I think if you do that with moving the wall back, whatever, where the gate is, that cement is all broken up, you'd have to chop that up because the roots are underneath there to put a foundation again to put the new wall in. So it's not a one-day job by any means.
I mean, I'm going back to what I said and what Commissioner Hing picked up on. I would really like to get an arborist opinion on it. I don't know. You know, I feel a lot better about things.
But what would that do if he said it's a healthy tree?
I'm talking about the roots and, you know, just, because I'm uncomfortable killing that tree. You know, I am.
Commissioner Jimenez.
So I think I'm going to chime in here to try to tie up some of the points that I'm hearing here and also some of the conflict that I have here. I think first and foremost, the benefit of information, I think, would help us come to a decision. We're hearing the arborist report versus the insurance company. Neither of the documents are before us. So we can't really see exactly what did the insurance company say. At the same time, we can't say what an arborist would say about or opine about the tree. I can almost think it's an oak tree. Oak trees tend to lack symmetry to a certain degree, so they lean, they move back and forth. So with the absence of information, it's kind of hard to move forward with a recommendation. But if we allow the removal of the tree, to me, it's not necessarily just that we're losing a tree. It's the loss of canopy coverage. And that in and of itself is what makes the oak tree majestic, is its coverage, its crown. And to achieve that crown is what takes decades to get to. Planting a tree will not help us replace that loss of the crown. Planting multiple trees that maybe within a reasonable amount of time could help us re-achieve some level of coverage on the property. So, absent of information, it's hard for me to move forward with a recommendation. But I'm also liking what I'm hearing from the chair, that if it is removed, if there's traction to remove the tree, I think there has to be some level of trade-off that the property owner has to go through the whole process, stump out the tree, repair any damaged work or patio cover, walls, fence, etc., encumber them, so that if it's truly an issue of wanting to provide safety on the property, it should be removed completely, and whatever's damaged should be repaired, back to its original condition before, let's say, the tree started to uproot foundations and footings of the block wall. So I can go that way as well, too. But again, that's all based on the absence of information today. I think we know that the arborist report, what it's going to tell us. What I don't know is what the insurance report is telling us. If it's a preference or they're being hardline of that tree coming out, that's, I think, something that would help me get to where I want to go. But otherwise, this evening, if we're going to remove that tree, then I want to ensure that, one, that property is going to be restored based on the spirit of wanting to repair the properties or whatever is damaged in that immediate area back to its original condition prior to the tree creating such condition. Or again, seeing additional information so that we can better make a decision. Sorry for being long-winded there.
Yeah, I don't, if an arborist comes out and says it's a healthy tree, I don't see how that resolves the problem. How does that resolve the problem?
Find different solutions to fix the problem.
What?
If the problem is the fence, then we fix the fence. If the problem is the concrete, then fix the concrete, not the tree, if the tree is not the problem.
Well, the concrete is broken up because of the roots. So if you leave the tree there, the roots are going to continue to grow.
I think
break up the concrete.
that's part of the reasons why we have, or the oak tree is being protected. Otherwise, if every little thing that comes up, we just chop all the oak tree down.
No, there's an exception to
There got to
every
be a
rule.
reason.
And this one should, as I said, should never have been planted where it was, or maybe it was there when the house was built. You know, I don't know, and then that's the construction's fault for putting it so close, but that's neither here nor there, it's there. And so if the arborist comes out and says, this is a healthy tree, I don't see how that's going to resolve the problem.
Well, I don't know that I can help much more, but I think that you kind of discuss it. I think the question is, I think you probably need to make some motions and see if you can come to a consensus on what you want to do, either approve the removal of the tree, continue it to get more information. Those seem to be the two options that I'm hearing. But I don't think you're going to probably come to a conclusion or consensus until you make a motion and see where people are.
So I will try this, and again, just to, in the sake of trying to move forward, I believe I would like to see information presented to us. One, the applicant or some representative of the applicant that could talk in detail about the property, the existing conditions with the patio, how the patio is used, questions that we may have that particular, if my motion carries, hopefully we can bring them back and talk to them a little bit to have a better understanding of maybe what is the long-term plans. I think we heard good testimony this evening, commentary from the chair, that even if we take the tree out, you leave the stumps, the roots there, we're still going to have this issue. If there's no future plan to stump out the tree, take out all the roots, then is it necessary then to kill the tree? What are we missing? What am I missing? So I think we need to see more information before I can make that decision. Hence, I would like to see either one of two documents before me. One, it's going to be an arborist report, as I heard Commissioner Haynes say, that details, one, we know the condition of the tree, but any sort of recommendation to mitigate, to allow maybe for the preservation, a workaround, potential trimming of roots to maybe try to save the patio, do the necessary work, or some detailed statement, not an email, from the insurance company actually telling us what does it mean if we say yes or no, and how does that impact the property owner. I don't know if I've been able to capture that as a motion, but I guess in short, I need some level of information along with some additional testimony to help me get to the answer of either one, allowing the removal, or two, the preservation of the tree.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to second that motion. And just the only, if I can make a quick comment on the motion, the only thing we have is the letter from the applicant's daughter, which number 3 indicates homeowners insurance, saying the insurance company came out, stated it's a hazard and should be removed. That's all we got. It says it could potentially, and potentially is a very interesting word, potentially fall either way and damage the home. That's all we got. Okay, I mean, I think in seconding the motion and agreeing with your premise that we need to have something that we can bite down on. And, you know, I really think I think we need the information that a professional arborist can provide, which one thing we don't have now is that information. And I don't think it would do any harm to get it. And I don't know whether we can call upon our Public Works.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Why don't we, if you're okay, if the commission's okay, and this hasn't passed yet, but I would suggest letting us work through our Public Works Department, see, in that case, it probably won't be a detailed arborist report. It would probably be the summary report of an arborist who goes out there and looks at it and says, yeah, the tree's in this type of shape. I am worried about it, or no, it looks like it's perfectly healthy.
You know, they could give us some idea of the roots, you know, the situation there. I mean, I know we have used WCA in the past.
Yes.
Around the city.
We do have, I don't know if it's WCA anymore,
Yeah,
but
we
I
have,
think you're right.
we also have, you know, the other two.
Oh, it is West Coast, yeah.
It is West Coast Arborist is WCA.
Well, I can check, I can work with
Yeah.
Public Works and
Yeah.
If we do that, then I would ask that the arborist or whoever it is you're going to ask, they give us a recommendation what to do.
Yeah.
If they say it's a healthy tree, it's a great health, that doesn't solve the problem. What are we going to do? Can they cut a piece out of the tree? Can they cut the roots off?
No.
They need to give us some, you know, to go out and say it's a healthy tree.
Well, first of all, this is
doesn't
a
resolve the problem.
contract, this is a contractor for the city. I don't think they're going to be willing to go out on a limb to do something that's totally outside. There we go again.
Well,
So,
then we ought to get an arborist, you know? Because they'll tell you what you can do. If they say it's a healthy tree, but they see what's happening there, then what can we do to save it?
well, I think I already know the answer to that, but why don't we try this? I would suggest trying that, and everybody may not be in agreement, and, you know, may have to kick it down the road a little bit further, but I think that's probably the easiest way to get it without costing them money. I don't know if you can get an arborist to come out and give you a written something or other on the health of a tree without paying them, and I don't know that I want to I don't want this to be a cost thing. I want to reduce costs.
Can we also ask the applicant to provide us with the insurance company?
We can
form
ask
or
that, but
whatever
I
it is,
have a
the
feeling her
report?
response is going to be, it was a stated comment, it wasn't written, but we can ask, but that's my fear. One other comment, and I know we're dragging this on, but, you know, I would say with the slab, if, they're not going to be able to fix the slab by
can't.
removing the tree. It's impossible. The only way to fix that is to remove the slab, remove the roots, and put a new slab in. They're not going to be able to fix it. Sheena is right, or Commissioner Hing is right about that. I've seen cities will sometimes come in and they'll shave down sidewalks where it's lifted up so that it's level. They can do that, and they would have to do that. That's the only way they're going to fix this without removing the whole thing anyway. So it's not really a question of fixing that with the removal of the tree. That won't solve anything for 20 years. Those roots are going to be there for a long, long time.
Well, even if you fix it, it's not fixed.
No.
Because the roots are still
The roots are still there,
gonna
and
do
they're
the
very
same
hardwood,
thing.
and they're going to stay. They're hard. It's a hardy tree. It's going to stay there a long time. So
Okay.
let me reiterate what Commissioner Jimenez said. Ask an applicant or representative of the applicant to be here. What I would suggest, I'm interpreting something that he said. Get a written quote for the tree removal, how much that's going to cost, and if it includes the stump grinding, because I don't know how they'd stump grind that close to a wall. I don't know if you've ever seen a stump grinder work. It'll rip.
They did it to mine right next to the black wall.
Okay, I would think it would destroy the wall, especially if it was already in bad state, but you've seen it in action. So that would be 2. 3 is an arborist report from the Public Works Department, hopefully, and then a detailed statement from the insurance company. Those are the 4 things that I heard. We have a motion by Commissioner Jimenez and a second by Commissioner Redholz.
the, fixing all the concrete, the block walls, the fence, or what have you, put it
Okay.
back to its original state.
Repair of wall, okay.
And let me just make one final comment. I mean, we want to make the best possible decision. And in order to do that, you need information to do that. And if it's information that turns out to be, not that helpful, or does, we just need to have information to make the best possible decision. I don't feel comfortable, I know Commissioner Jimenez doesn't, feel comfortable making a decision when there's perhaps a piece of information that we don't have.
Can we have a roll call, please, then?
Before I do that, we just want to reiterate too, the condition of the homeowner who's probably not going to be able to come no matter what. So, and then the family is kind of spread out, so I don't know, that may be more difficult to achieve than we'll see if we can achieve it, but we probably won't hold it up till December, for instance, because they're not coming back till Christmas. If we can achieve the other three, we'll bring it back and explain that. So just to say that. Okay.
And I'd like to see, if they come back, that we invite the neighbor next door that's also having problems with their fence. Can't make them come, but
The neighbor directly to the west.
west,
Isn't that-
west.
Okay.
That's the one that's affecting their gate from
We can do that. We can invite the neighbor
Right.
to the west. Okay, so that is 6 things. Okay, so we're ready for the vote. Commissioner Hing?
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Yes.
Commissioner Redholz?
Aye.
Commissioner Castellanos?
Yes.
Chairman Holtz?
Aye, 5-0.
This is just informational. There's really nothing for me to necessarily go over here. There's no action for you to take. It's just that every year, the state law suggests that they require that we submit an annual report of the general plan and the housing element, where we're at in development, where we're at in the number of units that are being constructed, and the policies and how those are moving forward. So we have done that. That's required to be submitted to City Council, and they reviewed it. I can't remember the date, but it was the second meeting in February, and we forwarded it to, it's supposed to be done by April 1st, so we forwarded it to the state agencies required. I just wanted to provide it here because it's a lot of information about status of where we're at, and you may find it interesting, you might find it good insomnia medication, but we just wanted to provide it for your knowledge. So there's no action. If I can answer any questions, but otherwise there's no action, we can move on to the next item.
Who am I speaking to? There's nobody out there.
You're speaking to the world, you're on YouTube.
Continuation of oral communication.
There's a lady out there.
You want to speak? No. Thank you. Commission reports, comments, and miscellaneous items. This is time when any member of the commission may bring a matter to the attention of full commission that is within the scope of duties assigned to the commission. Any item that was considered during the agenda is not appropriate for discussion in this section of the agenda. No commission discussion or action can be considered at this time. If the commission desires to discuss an issue raised by a speaker or take an action, the commission may vote to agendize the matter for a future meeting. Planning directors, anyone?
Well, I just want to say one real quick thing, that the infamous or famous Dunkin' Donuts has opened for business. They had bless you, Mr. Chairman. They had a soft opening, and they are now open. And they're going to have a grand opening, actually a couple of them, April 6th and 7th. The 7th, which is a Saturday, I believe, 10 a.m., they're going to have the official city, ribbon cutting and blessing of the building and whatever the city does. And as I drive by there, many times I notice that the infamous drive-through that we turn down here is quite busy. And when you look at a project or a building on paper, then you see it. I mean, it's a very large presence at that corner. And then you've got, the Rainbow, that's really small now compared. But, I mean, I'm sure she'll, they'll do fine, because the good thing is in the signage, they didn't put donuts on their sign. They're kind of going away from that. It just says Dunkin' and Baskin Robbins. So they can probably, both continue to do well there. But they are open, and if you look on some of the West Covina sites on Facebook and so forth, the controversy continues. But, it's another new business in West Covina.
Anything else? No? No. Planning Director's report.
We have the forthcoming, we have no items scheduled for April 10th, so there will be no meeting that night, but we do have items for the 24th, so plan on being here with bells on that night. Project status report is before you, talks about the projects that have been approved by the Planning Commission over the last several years and what status they're at, and that's all I have to report.
I have a question on that. When, there's a lot of talk about Chick-fil-A and all that, when do we anticipate that might come?
Well, we don't have a date yet. What are we, 3 or 4 months? 3 or 4 months, maybe? It's a wild guess at this point in time. 3 or 4 months, 3 or 4 to 5 months, something like that.
And that other assisted living, actually, that assisted living facility and the other new condominium project on Cameron, how far out are they?
The Cameron was pretty close, likely May. It will have a hearing on that. The assisted living, are you talking about the one that's on the north side of the freeway?
Yeah.
That one we've just gotten that one in the
Okay,
last
so that's
couple
way
of
out
weeks.
there.
That one's later in the year, or maybe, perhaps even next year, depending on how fast they move.
Okay, because they're doing a lot of, they're all three that I mentioned are doing a lot of PR.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think all those are serious, and they're planning
Yeah.
on moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay, projects, did we do project status report?
Yes, we
We
did.
did, okay. City council action?
Nothing to report from previous. At the next meeting, there's going to be the hearing on the project what do we call that? The entitlement, the code amendment for entitlement processing will be on the next planning commission or city council agenda.
Other than 20 cats and 1,200 square feet, this meeting is adjourned.
Sounds like a Disney movie.
20 cats and 1,200, oh my God.
There's 20 cats and 1,200 square feet coming to a theater.
Yeah,